Welcome to Truth Talk Live.
All right, let's talk.
The truth is, I can't hide it, I can't hold it no more.
A daily program powered by the Truth Network,
This is kind of a great thing, and I'll tell you why.
where pop culture, current events, and theology all come together.
Speak
Your mind.
And now, here's today's Truth Talk Live host.
So we are going to Cuba today, friends. We are going to the land of Castro communism, the land of beautiful, beautiful, silky oceans and water and white sand beaches, but a land that is got a lot of Christians on fire for the Lord, but are also under fire by their communist government for following Jesus. And with me to go there is one of my good friends, longtime partner of the Truth Network. You're going to learn more about Cuba today than you've ever heard, and you're going to also learn about what God's doing there through radio, because right now we're doing this show all across America, across the world through our app, but people in Cuba listening to AM radio, because they still have all these cars with AM, and they still have all this, you know, they're a little bit of a time freeze there. They are listening to Transworld Radio, right? John Somerville's talk right into that mic. Put it on your chin.
You're right. You're exactly right. And, Transworld Radio has been broadcasting the gospel into Cuba since 1964. We do it from the island of Bonaire, which is off the coast of Venezuela. And God has done some terrific things through it. Now, like you said, Cuba is like, if you watch that movie Back to the Future, it's kind of like Back to the Future. As you walk through Havana, the architecture looks like it's from the 1940s and 50s. The cars, many of them are from the 1950s. Of course, they do have some modern cars too, but it's amazing how many old Chevys and old Fords, old Dodges you'll see there, and it's incredible. What's amazing though is Cuba right now. The government has doubled down on their economic policies, and because of that, there's so much strife going on in the area. What I mean by that is their economy is basically collapsing, and with that, the electricity grid, when you're talking about the electricity grid, we're talking about 4 to 14 hour rolling blackouts across the island. And because of that, it's causing many places for the infrastructure for water to break down. So over 700,000 people without water across the island right now. Wow. And because of these kinds of troubles, lack of food, lack of medicine, these kinds of things, many people are leaving the island. And over 2 million people have left the island since about 2015. And because so many people have left the island, and it's interesting, because they've left the island, the guy who's in charge of their electricity says, well, now we don't need to produce as much electricity, right? Well, that's not going to go anywhere. But what's happening is when people go through crisis, Stu, they start looking for answers, and they're recognizing that the government does not have the answers for them. So they are turning to the church. And in the church, they're finding Jesus. Wow. And yet at the same time, because many people are leaving, a lot of those pastors have left. Where are they going to get good teaching? Transworld Radio. And the gospel goes out each and every day. But we want to increase that. We want to increase the amount of programming that is going into Cuba so that more people can get discipled and more people can get saved, more people can grow in their faith each and every day.
Well, and I just visited a women's group this morning who one of the ladies shared. She said, my radio is on 97.7 FM all day long. She says, it's fed me the word. It's just been an incredible part of my life, getting me into church, my family. It's been a spiritual resource. And you think about the station you're listening to right now, listening to us talk about this, think about not having that. Think about being in Cuba and not having any Christian radio. But Transworld Radio is there. But today, all hour long, we're giving back. We're asking you, we're asking me, we're asking everyone listening to consider blessing Cuba, blessing the work of Transworld Radio that is penetrating communist Cuba. You're on a big channel over there, But we got to raise some support for you guys, right, John?
The radio station that we have coming out of Bonaire is larger than any radio station in North America. You cannot find a station bigger in North America. You can't find one bigger in the Caribbean. You can't find one bigger in South America. This is the largest radio station at 450,000 watts. It's bigger than any radio station in the entire Western Hemisphere. Wow. You know, and God's put it in whose hands? He's put it in our hands. And why? To be able to proclaim the gospel. Cuba needs Jesus. There is no other Christian radio station that covers the island like Transworld Radio. Wow. We need to be getting more gospel programming into that island right now.
And so that's what happens. Occasionally we do a little give back here on Truth Talk Live where we say, hey, let's bring a partner in and let's find out what God is doing around the world. These Cubans, the believers, are on fire for God, but they need some encouragement and they need more of what John's doing with Transworld Radio. So please what are we asking people for today, John? Just any gift of any amount to support the Christian radio in Cuba, because they're not blessed to be in America where we have all kinds of resources, right? And we have all kinds of sponsors that partner with us. They need our help, our listeners, to step up, right?
Could you give a $100 gift, maybe a $200 gift? And right now, we would love for you to pick up that phone, give us a call, be a part of what God is doing through Truth Network and TWR to be able to reach Cuba for Jesus Christ. Cuba needs hope, and Cuba needs Jesus. Cuba needs you right now. Could you give us a call at 888-988-5656? That's 888-988-5656, or truthnetwork.com, and click on the banner there that says Cuba needs Jesus.
There's a big link there. I'm about to open that up. I'm going to pull my credit card out or go out to my car and get it if I left it out there, and I'm going to give a donation directly to this ministry. I love what you're doing. You're enabling the gospel to continue to go out across Cuba. Imagine that. Imagine folks that have been bitten by the bug of communism, that are stuck in that atheistic worldview, that are driving down the road in Cuba listening to Transworld Radio. Because of you, you can reach more of them, right, John Somerville? And this is going on right now.
You know, you were talking about pulling out your credit card and giving a gift. Let's say some thanks to some folks who have already given gifts. We want to say Candace over in Raleigh gave $100. Thank you so much, Candace. Carolyn in Charlotte gave $100. Thank you so much. Here's another one in Raleigh. It's an anonymous gift for $100. And over in Spearfish, South Dakota, another anonymous gift for $200.
Wow.
We want to say how grateful we are for faithful friends like you.
Join that list. Support any way you can Transworld Radio. It's a certified 501c3, kingdom-minded, aligned with the good doctrine of the Bible, spreading the gospel in Cuba. Call the number right now. Give it to us one more time going in the break. Call this number and pledge any amount or donate any amount. There are folks that'll take this. Go ahead.
All right, 888-988-5656.
Some huge testimonies when we come back on Truth Talk Live. Don't touch that dial.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
I want to hear more. Just the thought of someone driving through Cuba, turning on Christian radio and hearing the gospel for the first time and coming to Christ. That's what we are all about today on this show. Of course, we're all about that everywhere. Everywhere you go listening to this program, on the station you're listening to. Thank you for being partners with Truth Talk Live, all of our affiliates. I'm Stu Epperson, and I'm just honored to be sitting here in the chair on this special time of year with these special friends, reaching Cuba with the good news of Jesus Christ, John Somerville. And we're going to jump into the. Wait till you hear this testimony is going to break your heart, friends. If you want to call in, please do. We'll take your calls 866-34-TRUTH. If you have a question about Cuba, about how the ministry of Transworld Radio works, it's an all-hour-long give back to help support Christian radio there. And someone that's helped us support Christian radio here a lot. It's helped keep me alive, honestly. Are our friends at Vinetastic.com. Now, John Somerville, who's the big health nut in your family? I know it's not you.
Well, it must be my son, Andy. He
Andy?
Knows,
Are you the health guy?
He knows everything there is about what I should eat and what I shouldn't eat.
Andy?
And anytime I get a Coca-Cola, he's saying, Dad, you don't need that.
Okay, well, I'm tossing this to him. Andy, give this to your dad every next time he asks for a Coke, okay? He will have a Vinetastic and a Smile. That's got over 300 parts per million of antioxidant polyphenols in every bottle. And here's the best part about it. There is no sugar, right on the label. Read the label. No sugar, no carbs, no calories, and no artificial sweeteners.
How about taste? Is there any taste?
It tastes really good.
Oh, good.
But you got to move past. If you're, 137 million plus pre-diabetics or diabetics in our country.
Yeah.
So if you want, if you're all into taste, you're going to drink yourself right into the grave, right? Or like Tony Evans once said, you dig your grave with your spoon. Andy's going to wash that down right now. He can't stop himself. Look at. Tell me that ain't bad. For something so healthy.
We need to put that on the video.
Tell me, Andy. I'm telling you. But all I'm saying is they stand with our ministry. They're convinced that if anyone should champion health, it's believers, right? Your body is the temple. And so Jerry Smith, the whole team out there, Judy, Candy, Kathy, wonderful folks, and they believe in what we're doing, helping us advance the good news of the gospel, helping us support Christian radio in Cuba. So Vinetastic.com is where their website is. All the information about the product. Look at it yourself. Look at the videos. You can learn, take the health education. But people in your family, this is they've been a blessing to us, and they have offered us a promo code for our listeners that want to check it out and want to get some. The promo code is TRUTH. Very simple. Vinetastic.
He downed half that bottle.
He just washed it down.
I mean,
what in the world? These kids nowadays, I tell you right now. But that's what, and some kids that don't want to take, vitamins, right? Like they can't swallow, 3-year-old's not going to swallow a vitamin, but they'll drink a healthy drink. But we don't want them to drink the sugar drinks, right? And the diet stuff. It's got bad stuff in it. So anyway, but this is a movement, and the people listening to this ministry, we are here because people have prayed for this ministry. People have supported this ministry. My mom was on the board of Transworld Radio.
That's right. She was.
Truth Network, every ministry. I'm on the board of Salem Media. Every ministry that's doing anything is because people graciously said, "Hey, I want to support that. I want to send $1,000 to reach Cuba for Jesus." And that's what we're doing today, asking people simply to jump on. I ran out to the car. I was breathing a little hard when I came in. I might have to drink a Fantastic myself here to get my credit card so that while you're talking, my chubby little fingers are going to go to the app.
Okay.
I'm going to click on the Cuba Needs Jesus link right here at truthnetwork.com, and then I'm going to donate. I'm going to put this in and donate, and by the end of the show, hopefully they'll send me an email, "Hey, thank you for your gift."
How many zeros are you putting in?
That's exactly right. I appreciate that. Yes, sir. As many as I can. Probably not enough, but that's why we need our listeners to jump in. I'm just one guy, okay? But we need all of us to support Cuba in the ministry, because what's going to happen when someone sends some money to Transworld Radio, John? They're not sending it to you or to them. They're sending it to the Lord ultimately. What's going to happen?
They are. When you think about it, we joke about how much that Stu's going to give here, but when it comes down to is how much will you give? And when it comes down to is that, like Stu's saying, we're not giving to Transworld Radio. You're giving through Transworld Radio because you are reaching people for Jesus in Cuba. And Cuba right now needs Jesus. They need hope. And this is our ability to be able to expand the programming that we have for Cuba, to be able to do more. And so would you give a very generous gift? Maybe you could do $100, maybe you could do $200, maybe you could do $50, maybe you could do $1,000 or $5,000, whatever God puts on your heart. Let's pick up that phone, give us a call. Our phone number is 888-988-5656. Let me give that to you again. 888-988-5656. You can also do it online at truthnetwork.com and click on that banner that says Cuba needs Jesus. I was in Havana and flew into Havana. We drove down into the middle part of the island into a place called Grandma. They have a place called Grandma on Cuba. And
I bet the cooking's good there too.
Met with a guy. His name was Luis. Luis he stands probably about, I'm going to say, no more than 5'6", probably 5'4". I mean, he's a short fella. He's one of these guys that when he talks, he bubbles, he bounces, he talks with his hands. And he had come to know Jesus by listening to Transworld Radio and invited his wife. You've got to hear this kind of thing. And so she came to know Christ by listening to TWR2. Well, he started inviting. As a couple, they started inviting people into their little apartment. Now, when I say little, I mean little, because I was in that apartment. Couldn't be more than 800 square feet, and it's concrete walls, concrete floor, concrete ceiling. I mean, it is small, and it's the kind that has no glass even in the windows. It's amazing, but this place started overflowing with people. overflowing. And so they decided to start another one of these little Bible studies and down the hall. And they started one down there, and it began to overflow. And so they started one at a couple floors away. It started overflowing. Then they decided to go over to the next apartment complex. They started them over there. Well, pretty soon they decided, this go into all the world stuff pertains to them too. And so they started hitchhiking to the next town over and began planting churches there. When I met Luis had planted 17 churches. He was mentoring a person in each one of those churches to become the leader of those churches. And it's a good thing that Luis was hitchhiking, Stu, because Luis was blind.
A blind man plants 17 churches in Cuba. What's your excuse? What's my excuse? I need to turn the mic off and go home. That's unbelievable. I just put my credit card. I'm putting it. You watch me. I put it back in my money clip. I've already got the notification. We just donated, and I want you to donate too to help Luis and others reach Cuba with the good news of Jesus Christ. John, I don't know if it showed up in your database yet, but you don't have to thank me over the air. You can thank me during the break. Or you thank the Lord. It's not mine, it's his, right? But the thing about it, John, is the gospel's going out. And what's fascinating about these countries like Cuba, when listeners support Cuba, you're supporting a ministry to Christians who are like on fire. Mm-hmm. So it's just, think about the multiplied gift of that. Think about, a guy who's blind planting 17 churches. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So you're helping him have more resources. You're helping him reach more people. You're giving him a weapon to say, hey, now you all turn this radio on in between Sundays, in between services, to keep yourself boned up on the gospel and, and built up in the faith, listening to ministries just like they hear on these stations, like David Jeremiah, others, right, John?
You're exactly right. And you think about it, how's he going to read his Bible? He's not going to be able. So TWR is going to be his source of being able
Bible
to
over the air.
Yeah.
Give the number real quick for the break
All
for those
right.
leaving us.
Call us right now, 888-988-5656. Don't let this opportunity get past you. Now's the time to do it.
Click on the link at truthnetwork.com. Cuba needs Jesus. Back right after this.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
Aren't you glad that someone brought the gospel to you? Aren't you glad someone prayed for you to come to Christ? Aren't you glad that someone gave and supported the mission effort, or the youth pastor, or the pastor, whoever led you to the Lord, or someone invited that evangelist that you just happened to hear that day? Or for those of you who've come to know the Lord on the radio, I've talked to many people. I've gotten letters from all kinds of you who the Lord used radio to bring you to Christ. Aren't you glad that radio station is on the air? You may not like every speaker. It may not be convenient when certain programs come on, but it's God's using it. And God's using Transworld Radio to bring the gospel to Cuba today, right now. But they need your help. And they come on periodically to get our listeners involved, to get us involved, to give us the privilege. Really, it's a privilege, John Somerville, Transworld Radio, to invite people to give, to support, to donate, to help the ministry continue and to grow throughout Cuba, because Cuba needs Jesus.
Could you do a $200 gift, maybe a $100 gift? Maybe you could do a $500 gift. Could you do $1,000? Right now is a great time to jump in. Would you give us a call? 888-988-5656. 888-988-5656. You can always do it online at truthnetwork.com and crunch that banner that says Cuba needs Jesus. Now, I just wanted to tell you a quick story, one that I have always loved, and it's about this family who, because of the rolling blackouts and the electricity that happened across Cuba so often, they decided to get creative, and they turned their bicycle upside down, hooked some cables to it and a generator, and were able to just by bicycling the thing upside down, they were able to listen to it generate enough electricity for their radio. And so the children would make Dad do this every single night. Now, Dad was not a Christian. But they wanted to listen to their program. And because of that, every night Dad would do this. He would flip the bicycle over and he would connect it up to the generator, and he would help them listen to their program. Well, night after night after night, this happened, and eventually Dad got saved. Because why? We know where God's word goes, it doesn't return void, and is going to accomplish the purposes for which he sends it. That's what's incredible when you think about we're sending the gospel into Cuba every single night. People are hearing about Jesus. People are getting saved. People are getting discipled. People are growing in their faith. Why? Because of generous people just like you who make it possible for us to get programming into Cuba every single night.
I love it. Give that number again for folks that want to phone in real quick and just donate $100, $1,000, whatever. It's not yours anyway. We're trying to get to 10,000 by the end of this month, if we could. Any gift will be a blessing. $5, $10, $500, whatever. The number again, John.
All right, our phone number is 888-988-5656. Again, 888-988-5656. You can go online to truthnetwork.com. Click on that banner that says Cuba Needs Jesus. We'd love to hear from you right now.
Yeah, I want you to read another one of those testimonies, John. Before you do, just ask this question. This is a great time of year, celebrating the resurrection of Christ. And I'm challenging everyone to take the Happy Resurrection Challenge. Say Happy Resurrection instead of Happy Easter. Just say it. Get people thinking. Get people looking at you crossways. That's a good thing. Maybe they'll ask you about the hope that is within you, 1 Peter 3:15. But, John, you think about the news of the resurrection. The first thing the angel said is, go tell. The first words out of the angel's mouth at the tomb, go tell. Fear not, go tell. Fear not, go tell, right? All those things right in there, power-packed. Do you think that the message and the news of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the greatest event in history, do you think that's worthy, and do you think that's worth sharing with Cuba? Do you think Cubans should have the glorious opportunity to hear that good news? What do you think, John?
Everyone needs to hear, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son. Everyone needs to have that opportunity to hear, because that's what God has told us to do. Go into all the world, preach the gospel, make disciples, baptize them. That's what it's all about. Yeah. And whether we're in line at the supermarket or we're heading off into Cuba to give them the gospel. We may not be able to go to Cuba right now, but we can take the gospel to Cuba through your gifts and making it possible for them to hear great Christian radio just over Transworld Radio.
The campaign is Cuba Needs Jesus. I'm Stu Epperson. This is Truth Talk Live. John Somerville with Transworld Radio. They are a powerful vehicle taking the gospel through a 450,000 watt station, the most powerful station like it in the world, really. They're based in Bonaire. It blasts all over Cuba. It pops even a little bit into Venezuela and some other communist countries, reaching a lot of people, but they need your help. And they're taking a time to be on our show. This is a give back hour. We're inviting you to donate to support them. It's a tax-free, tax-deductible free gift.
That's easy for you to say.
That's right. But it all goes toward reaching Cuba with the gospel. The same great programming you hear on your favorite Christian radio in the States is blasting in Spanish across Cuba through Transworld Radio, into cars, into homes, into churches and everywhere. The church is on fire in Cuba, but the church is also under fire. These people are beleaguered and beat up. They don't want that Castro regime does not want Christian radio blasting all over their country, right, John?
You're right. In fact, there are no Christian radio stations across Cuba right now. There's not a single one in Cuba. However, we broadcast into Cuba from the Caribbean island of Bonaire, and we have the ability to be able to go. And you'd probably ask, well, why do they allow you to do that? They don't allow any stations from the U.S. to broadcast into Cuba. You're right. They don't. They block those stations coming in, but they don't block Transworld Radio because they don't see us as an American ministry. They see us as coming in from Bonaire, which is part of the Dutch Antilles. And so they've never blocked Transworld Radio. In fact, we've had a wonderful ministry to Cuba since 1964. But Cuba needs Jesus right now, and they are hungry for it.
Yeah, and I've already pulled my card out and hit it. I typed up. I went to the Truth app, actually. If you haven't downloaded the Truth app, it's free. Your smartphone's about to get smarter. We'll get Andy over here, your son, to download this app. And you can, the link right there, our team has put the link right up there in the front and center. It's at truthnetwork.com to at our website. Click on that link. It'll say donate now. I click donate now. I click on the amount. I entered with my chubby little fingers, enter my credit card, and literally before you finished sharing that last testimony, John, I had donated and I got a notice back that, it went through. So, but that's not my money. You know, what do we got to open our hands up? We got to think about what is generosity. Generosity is saying, hey, it's not mine, it's His, and I want to give everything I can to reach people with the good news of Jesus Christ. Thank God that I was reached with the gospel. Now I have a chance, I have a privilege to leverage what I know and what He's done for me and done in me to give to others. And it may be $1, it may be $100, maybe $1,000, maybe it's $10,000. Maybe someone out there says, I'm just going to give $15,000. I just got a couple million from an aunt that died, and this wasn't mine. This was found money. I want to bless Transworld Radio. Every penny of that's going to go where, John? Tell them.
It's going to go to broadcasting the gospel into Cuba. Every single penny of it. We have, of course, administration costs and that kind of things that are happening. But really what it's all about is getting the gospel into Cuba. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure that people all over Cuba, we're talking about 8.5 to 9 million people, are able to turn on their radio and hear the good news of Jesus every single night. And when we're talking about AM radio, and people are listening across Cuba.
Yep, it's big in Cuba because they have not modernized any of that stuff. There's not all these devices. There's not all this, not even a whole lot of FM quite yet.
There's not even a lot of
It's
internet.
like America in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, where AM was king. Well, it's still king in Cuba, and you can help that. You can help the King of Kings be promoted across the radio in Cuba, because Cuba needs Jesus. Jacksonville, Florida, 91.7 FM. I need to hear from you. Don't call me, call Transworld Radio with a gift of any amount to bless this gospel outreach and to support the gospel going into Cuba. Greenville, South Carolina, 96.9 FM. Spartanburg, Boiling Springs, Gaffney, Shelby, where Gardner Webb is. We need to hear from you on 88.3 FM. Transworld Radio, Cuba needs Jesus. Go to truthnetwork.com, click on the link, and make a tax-deductible gift today, whenever you're hearing this, to reach Cuba for the good news of Christ, and read what could happen. Read this testimony of these people who have been impacted by radio, John.
I love
these are
these
real.
testimonies.
This is happening in real time right now.
This is a testimony. It says TWR is a special fountain to drink from, providing refreshment and spiritual growth in our lives. And here's another one. It says, you bring the light to those who walk in shadows, the spring of living water to those of unsatisfied thirst. You are the tool in the hands of the Lord.
Yeah.
Call now, 888-988-5656. Can you do a gift of $200? Can you do a gift of $500? Can you do a gift of, $1,000?
Yeah.
You know, we need to get the gospel. Cuba needs hope.
Yep.
Cuba needs Jesus.
You can't back your car up or truck up without bumping into a church or a Christian radio station here in America. They're everywhere. But in Cuba, there's one big blasting Christian station that really needs your help. Let's give back. Let's support this thing. Let's give ahead. Who knows how many Cuban souls you will see in heaven because of your gracious gift today to Transworld Radio. Honored to have them on this whole hour on the Truth Network. We're going to do a final segment with them, hear some more really cool testimonies, and maybe hear from you as well. Transworld Radio, Cuba needs Jesus at truthnetwork.com. There's a big link there that you can click on to donate right through. Also at the Truth app, just open the app and click on the link like I did. It took me literally 2 minutes. John Somerville, what's the toll-free number for folks that may have to leave us that want to phone in their donation right now?
888-988-5656.
Reach communist Cuba with the gospel of Jesus Christ through Transworld Radio, and we'll talk more about how to do that and some history when we come back.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
Many of you remember the Cuban Missile Crisis. Many of you know this place for their famous cigars, their beautiful white sand beaches. But Cuba has been plagued, cursed by communism. And yet the gospel's thriving. People are growing in Christ. The church is on fire. I had a guy earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, someone I ran into in D.C. or somewhere said, Stu, one of the most on-fire churches in the world is the church in Cuba. Mm-hmm. They go in, they worship John Somerville, and they just keep going.
No, they don't worship John Somerville.
No, you got me there. Yeah, no, but there's not this, hey, it's 12:01, and we got to beat the Methodists to lunch here. You know, there's this kind of like, hey, we're dialing in, and we're going, and the pastor has another word. He's going to give another word, and we're going to sing another song, and we're going to do business with God, and it might be 3 or 4 o'clock, and they're not thinking about food. They're thinking about the living manna from heaven, the Word of God. And that's this church in Cuba that we're talking about. And so many folks are like, I want some of that. I want to go there, but I can't. I don't have a passport, or it's tough, on my travel schedule, maybe a little bit older. Well, you can, because you can pull out that little plastic credit card, or you can get on the phone and call our friends at Transworld Radio. I finally wrote the number down here, 888-988-5656. Easy to remember. It's a toll-free number. It's a free call. They're a nonprofit ministry. It's all a tax-deductible gift, and that may not be why you're giving. But give to reach Cuba with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Give ahead. Give so you'll see more Cubans in heaven one day who will hug you and say, thank you for helping me get here, for helping me hear about the only way to get here, who's Jesus Christ. Thank you for sharing the resurrection message with me. So the number is 888-988-5656. We take a little time out of our hot topics, controversial subjects, debates, discussions, and such to give back. And today it's all about Cuba. John Somerville, this is real important. Tell everyone why.
Well, Cuba right now is going through some terrible economic crisis, and electricity is having rolling blackouts. They're having problems with their water. There's not enough food on the shelves. There's not enough medicines. People are emigrating out of the country, leaving in droves, and so people they're looking for answers. They're realizing the government, the communist government, which is cracking down on even the little bit of capitalism that is going on there, and they're doubling down on their failed policies to tighten things up. People are realizing there's more out there. I need to find it. And so they're coming into the churches. And when they're coming into the churches, they are finding Jesus. And the churches now are more full today than they've been in decades. And what's really great about this is that people are wanting to know Jesus. They're wanting to find the answers. And at the same time, there's more opportunity than ever before to broadcast the gospel into Cuba through Transworld Radio, because we have the power and that we have the ability to be able to reach the entire island with Transworld Radio's signal. Transworld Radio's signal comes out of the island of Bonaire off the coast of Venezuela, 450,000 watts. Now, to give you some idea of that magnitude of power, that's 9 times more powerful than the largest AM radio station here in the U.S. Okay? 9 times more powerful. If we were to put that radio station here in Winston-Salem, where Stu and I are sitting in the studios, we'd be able to reach Havana from here. I'm telling you, that's how strong the signal is. Wow. And we can make it possible for people all across Havana and Grandma and Santiago de Cuba and all these other places.
Right. And Venezuela gets into there too.
Venezuela, Brazil, Colombia, Dominican Republic, even parts of Mexico. Yeah. And so God is using this tremendous signal to reach people for Jesus. But we want to do more. Can we do more? Only with your help. We want to put more great programming on. It's programming that will grow them in their faith so that they can come to know Jesus as their personal Lord and Savior and be discipled so that more churches are being planted throughout Cuba.
Amen. So this is a give back day. So basically all the gifts, all the money that we raise, that people graciously give, generously give ahead to the Lord to bless this Cuba ministry, it's going toward Christian programming continuing. It's keeping the station on the air effectively and then adding and growing it, right?
Exactly right. I know we're running out of time here, Stu. The hour is passing very, very rapidly, but let me share a couple testimonies with you real quick. One is from the 9-year-old girl. She says, "Hello, brothers and sisters at TWR. I am 9 years old, and every night I listen with my dad. We are big fans of yours." That's so important because we are reaching the next generation with the gospel. We are reaching the people who will be saved and who will be coming up through the ranks. Here's another one. In a time when there is barely any food on the shelves, TWR is a spiritual food that reaches Christian Cuban families every night. We are giving them what they really, really are hungering for, and that is Jesus.
Hallelujah.
In Cuba, we have not found the magic wand that changes our pain to joy, but we have found a God who gives us a calm in the midst of so many storms. And these are powerful, powerful testimonies of people who are tuning in to the programming we have already on there, but we need to do more. Can we do more? Only through your help. Would you pick up that phone? Give us a call right now, 888-988-5656. 5656. You can do something very generous to reach people in Cuba with Jesus. Right now, 888-988-5656 or online at truthnetwork.com and click on that banner that says Cuba needs Jesus.
If you weren't with us earlier, that's what I did. I just went on the app. Believe it or not, I do everything on my phone. I do my Bible study notes on my phone. I do all kinds. I wrote 2 books on my phone in the notes section here in the smartphone. I clicked on the app and I clicked on the link and it took me right to the site, and I clicked on the gift and I typed in the credit card stuff and I sent it right away, and I got this nice note back. Thank you for your gift. Hopefully it showed up in your system, John. It may take a little while.
No, it's here.
But so anyway, I mean, I hope you'll thank me over the air so everyone knows.
Thank you very much for your gifts, Stu.
I've now broken every gracious message from Jesus. Don't give it publicly. Don't. Now am I going to tell you I'm fasting, and now I'm going to tell you no. But honestly, it's kind of contagious when people are generous, right? Like that's a beautiful thing. That and sometimes when people talk about the preacher getting up there to preach on giving and eyes are rolling, it should be the opposite. It should be like a celebratory moment. It should be like, hey, we have been given the privilege to donate and give to the Lord's ministry to reach souls for Christ and to spread the gospel. You talked earlier about a man who's planted 17 churches in Cuba. The man's blind, for Pete's sake. But he lives by this radio station over there because it feeds him the Word of God. It's the only Christian resource that they can reach in that listens to on the AM radio, which is very big in Cuba. But, John, you got another cool little thing that popped in.
We did. Carol from Piedmont, South Carolina, just popped in with her gift. Thank you so much, Carol. We are so appreciative of everyone who's picking up the phone. Give us a call at 888-988-5656 or like Carol, who went online at truthnetwork.com and punched the button that says Cuba needs Jesus.
Yeah, Cuba needs Jesus, and the toll-free number, 888-988-5656. You can call anytime. Some folks might listen to this on a tape delay. Some folks might listen to the podcast, on demand. They just were busy. A buddy of mine's on his way to Havana on a missions trip, and he was so excited, but he just left the doctors. His eyes are dilated, and he can't get the radio on right now. But shout out to my buddy Brandon, who's also my cousin. He's going to listen, and he's going to send some money to Transworld Radio. Again, this is to advance the gospel in Cuba. Imagine that idea that the Great Commission goes out. Imagine Cubans leaving Cuba because they hear Christian radio over there because of your gifts, and they go to Ethiopia, they go to the Middle East, they go to Central Asia, they go to places that have never heard the gospel. These are mission-minded people. They're on fire. They want to plant churches. They want to reach the world with the gospel, and you and I are helping do that right now, John, through Transworld Radio. Thank you for what you're doing, man. It's so encouraging.
It takes all of us together. You, me, everybody who's listening, all of us. This is bigger than you or me. This is something that only God can do. And God has given us the largest radio station in the entire Western Hemisphere to use to reach people in Cuba.
What's the frequency of the station? What's the
800 AM.
Wow, I love it. AM 800. That is pretty cool. 450,000 watts. Someone in Dayton, someone in Toledo, please. 106.5 FM is the signal in Dayton and Toledo. You're listening to Christian radio. God bless you. There's other Christian radio stations around in most cities in America, but Cuba has one on AM 800. They're listening to the gospel right now, and we want to keep that going, and we want to help support it more right now. It's a limited time at this moment through the ministry of Transworld Radio. So we're asking for folks to give $100, $200, $1,000, $10,000, whatever God's putting you to give. It's His money anyway. You're kind of giving it back, but you're also giving ahead because you're helping reach souls. John, the best way to do this, simply for people listening that maybe just joined us too.
Can you make a generous gift right now? Could you do $500? Could you do $1,000? Could you do $2,000? Maybe God has put it on your heart to do a $100 gift or a $200 gift. Call right now, 888-988-5656. 888-988-5656. 5656.
Really, it's going way back to the year that Transworld Radio was founded, and The Towers of Eternity, that great book, which I've got a copy to give you in my car. Beautiful. You have many copies, but this ministry was started to spread the gospel. My mom was on the board. We've been knowing you forever. We love the people there. But the essential mission of TWR, will you, John, remind us of this? Because it also taps into the DNA God's put in every believer. What is it?
Our central mission is to tell people about Jesus who wouldn't otherwise hear about Him any other way. that's the beauty of Transworld Radio. We have the ability to go where other ministries can't, because radio can go where missionaries often can't. And it can be there to minister to people in the privacy of their own home, or even in the privacy of their car, in the privacy of their own earbuds.
Wow. And people depend on Christian radio, like the blind gentleman who can't, read, or, he can't see, but he listens. Like people that there's a lot of illiteracies there, even in Cuba and other places, but they can listen to the Word of God on the radio through Transworld Radio. Man, thank you for what you're doing. You've blessed me just to talk about this. I'm excited because I got to give to it. I pulled my card out. I gave right here on the show. You can't too. It's real easy. TruthNetwork.com. Cuba needs Jesus.